Well, then, whether or not that inflation print for the month of January is a driver or not, at least for the rally that we saw yesterday, I have more meat on that January inflation report. In fact, if you try to take a look at the figures here, you'd see January inflation coming in at 2.9%. That is our fastest in 8 months, or since we actually reported a 3.2% inflation back in May of 2019. Also coming off from that very low inflation in October of 2019 at 0.8%. January inflation now becomes a third straight month of a faster inflation coming off from the 2.5% that we saw in December of last year. Also, something we have to take note of is that although this is a faster inflation, that's still pretty much within the target range of the BSP, which is at 2 to 4% for 2020. Also, we have to highlight this that core inflation also did experience a bit of a bump up here to 3.3% from 3.1% previously. Now, I want to divert your attention to a different chart here. You'd see here increases in various fronts here in terms of commodities here. We're talking about food, alcoholic, clothing, and even housing. In fact, alcoholic beverages, alcoholic and non-alcoholic, alcoholic and tobacco, in fact, increasing to 19.2% from 18.4% previously here. Food alone index likewise also surging to 2.1% from 1.7% the previous month. And the food group is something that the PSA is actually going to zero in for the next few months, especially now with a heightened threat from the African swine fever, especially that coming from Mindanao. Let's listen to what National Statistician Claire Dennis Mapa had to say.
Right now, we are more concerned with the food products because of the ASF. So we're tracking fish because in the food basket in particular, fish had a relatively higher inflation, past 8%, also vegetables, and beef and chicken. So right now, our concern is really more on how the ASF would have impact on the other items in our food basket.
Well, other than that, then you have other concerns. In fact, during that press con, Claire Dennis Mapa did allude to other factors here. We're talking about the twin storms that we experienced in December. Plus, you also have the Taal eruption providing some upward pressure really on inflation. But question now is, what are analysts saying? There are a number of upside pressures here. For one, you have Junero BPI saying that the hike in oil prices is still a factor here. There are reductions. Yes, there are reductions, but that might actually reflect February pa. And at the same time, he is saying that LPG prices remain elevated. On the other hand, you have your Ernesto Pernia of NEDA saying that you have a number of factors here. Taal eruption, you also have the spread of the African swine fever, and at the same time, the nCoV outbreak. So saying there's really no room to be complacent at this stage as risks remain on the upside. Now, Nikki Mapa of ING is saying that the outbreak is going to alter consumer behavior. Expect higher consumption when it comes to medical supplies as consumers also opt to stay indoors, and that is going to likely depress prices for restaurants. In fact, now question now is how will all this inflation report going to factor in, at least for the all-important meeting of the BSP later on today?